So welcome everyone. Welcome to the Global AI Developer Days. The topic that I will be talking in the next 45 minutes may not be as exciting as what Priyanka just talked, because the use case I'll be talking about is I call it as a very boring use case, but also have a lot of ROI built to it. So the topic that we'll be discussing is when it comes to applied AI, how can we use applied AI for content classification, especially in the context of big content migration projects. I will be skipping this part for now. Only thing I want to highlight is I currently work as a cloud solution architect at AIS, where I focus on multiple products in Microsoft ecosystem such as Azure, Azure AI, Power Platform, and Microsoft 365. And most of the projects that I work on, we involve some kind of automation built in it. And I work at AIS, Western Virginia, USA office. And AIS is growing, and AIS has been in the working in the Microsoft industry from last 40 years. And we have been recipient of Microsoft Partner of the Year award on multiple occasions. We have a lot of open positions in USA, UK, Canada, and especially in India as well. So if you're looking for a change, definitely check us out on career.ais.com. You can also email me your resume or connect me on LinkedIn, and happy to chat with you. So this is going to be the agenda for today. I will talk about the approach. Since this session is for applied AI and we are at a global AI developer uh, event, I just want to clarify a few things. Then we'll talk about the case study. This case study is about the recent implementation we did for a customer. And I will be honest here. I have to cut down a lot of things that I'll be sharing here. So what I'll be sharing here is maybe 5 to 10% of what the actual implementation we did for the customer. We'll also talk about what is AI, because understanding where we are in AI and what kind of things we can do, especially when it comes to rolling out application in the enterprise space, is very, very important. Then we'll talk about the content classification, demos, key takeaways, and Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or just raise your hand or post your questions in the chat window. I have two monitors, so I can monitor the chat window, but along with us, we also have Nandi and Kunj, Asmita and Siddharth, so they can also help us in terms of monitoring the questions here. All right, so the approach is for the non-data scientist. We are not going to cover the machine learning part of the AI at all, or deep learning part of AI at all. The target audience for this particular session is developers, IT pros, and in somewhat degree the power users as well. So let's start with the case study. So let me tell you a story about a recent implementation date for a customer. So the customer wanted to migrate more than 1 terabytes of content, and that content was stored in on-premise file share. And they wanted to move that content to Microsoft Cloud as part of their large initiative to retire all the on-premise footprint. Now, the content itself was not properly tagged, as the case with majority of the organization, because over the time the content grew and very few people diligently tag the content. And also the content was not stored properly, in the sense that there may be some shares which will be used by IT department, but though in that share you will see some documents from finance department as well. So it was very hard for us to come up any kind of automation where, or any kind of rules where, so that, okay, if the content is in this folder, that means it should go to, let's say, the location that we have identified for finance department or IT department. So that was a huge challenge over there. And since the content was of a very humongous size, it was really impossible for us to, manually open the documents, find out what those documents are for, because that exercise itself would have taken us like 2, 3 years for that. So what we did is we use an AI-driven approach here for the content tagging. And then we use one of the popular migration tool to migrate the content. That's like a very, very high level overview of the implementation that we did. Now, what kind of technologies we use for this implementation? So we went with Microsoft Cognitive Services, but the Microsoft Cognitive Services are AI as a service available to us by Microsoft. But in your case, let's say if you're not a Microsoft shop, you can also replace Microsoft Cognitive Services with any similar service that are out there from other vendors such as Google, IBM, AWS, or you can use your own proprietary services as well. And then we use PowerShell, of course, for the content migration. We use the .NET, especially since we had to work with a lot of documents. We went with the pro developer approach here, where we use .NET for the content tagging, and we use PowerShell for the content migration. And the tool that we use, if any one of you in the audience is familiar, we use the ShareGate tool because ShareGate has and the same feature available with other third-party migration tools as well, where during the content migration, you can provide the specific metadata that should get applied when your content is getting migrated to your destination. So with that, let's talk about AI because using AI for content classification is one thing, but then before you start is thinking about, can I use AI for this particular business use case? It is very, very important to understand what is possible today in terms of the AI. So this is the definition of AI that I got from Google's AI researcher. It's an effort to automate intellectual tasks which are performed by humans. And AI is not new to us. Like we as a humanity is using AI since World War II. However, since we have now so much advancement in the computation or in the processing in last few years, we have seen a lot of hype in the media and in the industry in general. So AI is like there are three parts of AI. One is the strong AI, where the machines are very, very powerful, and the machines can perform really, really complicated tasks such as traveling across the galaxies, doing all sort of crazy things. Strong AI right now exists only in sci-fi movies and novels. There is a second category called artificial general intelligence, where machines are very, very intelligent. They can perform really complicated tasks. And one of the example I can give you here is if you have seen Marvel Comics franchise called Iron Man, there is a main character there, Tony Stark. And Tony has his personal assistant called Jarvis. Now, Jarvis can perform really, really complicated tasks, which are difficult for an average human being. Right now, there is a big research going on in the AGI field, but still the services that are out there are still not mainstream. So where we are at weak AI, where we have specialized services for specialized tasks. And one of the surveys that you are seeing on the screen is the real-time speech to text. Like I'm speaking in English, and whatever I'm speaking is getting translated real-time in English. And the service that is getting used is part of Microsoft Cognitive Service here, and that service is available to us by default as part of the latest version of Microsoft PowerPoint. So if you use latest version of Microsoft PowerPoint as part of your Microsoft 65 subscription, you can take advantage of this service for free as long as you have a good internet connection. So when it comes to the mission statement from Microsoft, they would like to make data science and AI accessible to everyone. And it doesn't matter where you are located, what sort of device you're using, and what your role is. And some of the services coming from Microsoft quite align really well with this mission statement. Now, if you look at the core AI services in Microsoft ecosystem, the core AI services are part of Azure AI. And Azure AI services are first party services. Now, what does a first party service means? Like not only we as a customer can use it, but internally at Microsoft, the other product group within Microsoft also uses these services for their own products. Inside scenario-based services, we have bot service, cognitive search, form recognizer, video analyzer, metrics advisor, and immersive reader. And under customizable AI models, we have vision, speech, language, decision, and OpenAI. And if you would like to build your own machine learning model, because under scenario-based service or under cognitive services, uh, Microsoft is building those models for you, and they are training those models. But sometimes the results that you're looking for, those models or those services may not give you. In that case, you can build your own model using Azure Machine Learning. Now, behind the scene, as I mentioned, the Azure AI services are also the first party services. Now, we can also use it, but behind the scene, other Microsoft products or cloud offerings such as Power Platform or Microsoft 65, behind the scene, they also use the same Azure services that we have access to. For example, Power Virtual Agent, AI Builder, which are part of Microsoft Power Platform. They use the same Azure AI services, some of the services in Microsoft 65. It used to call SharePoint Syntax, but recently Microsoft rebranded as a Microsoft Syntax. But that service heavily uses cognitive services behind the scene. And if you're totally new, these are some of the links you can follow to get started with your journey learning AI in Microsoft ecosystem. And if you're totally new and you need some kind of guidance because you really don't know which service is for you, this flowchart may help you in terms of which product to use. If you would like to build your own machine learning model, then Azure Machine Learning and corresponding products are for you. If you're more like me, who's more interested in applied AI and would like to just use AI as a service without having to go into details about data science and machine learning, then cognitive services and bots are for you. So let's talk about what are cognitive services, because for cognitive for the content classification, we went with the cognitive services. But in your case, if your organization is not a Microsoft shop, you can also go with similar services that are out there from other competing vendors as well. So cognitive services are AI as a service available to us, and it's very easy to use. All you need to do is you have to go to Azure portal, sign up for the specific service, get the service URL, get the key, subscription key, and then you can start using that with any language of your choice or any platform of your choice. Now, as long as that language that you're using supports the consumption of REST-based API, or the platform you're using or the product you are using supports the consumption of REST-based API, you can use that. For example, if I am a developer, then I can use that in so many different languages as long as there is support for REST-based API. I can also use it with Azure Logic Apps. If you are a citizen developer or if you don't want to write code, you can also use that with other products and services which offers you to consume REST-based API. Like if you are familiar with RPA, like you can use that with WinAutomate, UiPath, Blue Prism, even Microsoft RPA as well. So these are some of the practical applications we can build, but today we'll be focusing on this particular thing, the doc case or document classification here. So before I go further with the demos, let me know if you have any questions or comments so far. All right, I take that as a no. So first thing what we'll be doing is, uh, if you are totally new to, let me resize this window so that the subtitles are visible. If you're totally new to the cognitive services, what you can do is just use your browser and use your favorite search engine and just search for Microsoft Cognitive Services. And the link that you're looking for, since you can see now, there is a lot of interest in the AI as a service, and there is someone else also, giving Google a lot of money to make their ad appear on the top, like for example, Pegasus. But the link that we're looking for is this one, API for AI solution. And if you scroll down here, you'll see some of the services that are outlined here and categorized into 5 categories right now, like speech, language, vision, decision, and open AI. And under speech, we have speech to text, text to speech translation, speaker recognition. Under language, we have so many things like entity recognition, which is quite important, especially when you are looking at the content classification. When it comes to the vision, computer vision is also important, or you need to use when it comes to the content classification. Under decision, we have anomaly detector, content moderator, personalizer, and this OpenAI service as well. Now, one thing I want to highlight here is I know we have various services available under Microsoft ecosystem, but while you're rolling out apps across our organization, there may be scenario where the service that is available here, for example, anomaly detector, may not be giving you the results that you're looking for. In that case, it's totally okay if you use your own service or if you use your own a service from other third party or other competitor of Microsoft, because as long as because there is these services are available to us as a REST-based APIs, and you can consume those REST-based APIs, and you can combine, let's say, one service from Microsoft and one service from Google or IBM, and then solve your business challenge here. Now, if you would like to explore the service, you can just go to individual, like the product page. For example, if I go to the product computer vision here, I can see some of the information about how exactly you can do what sort of customers are using it, and then you can also find out information about the code sample and other stuff. But the one site you can use to really see the value of the services is aidemos.microsoft.com. This site is from Microsoft, and if you go and scroll down, you can see some of the samples that Microsoft has created for you. And from looking at the samples will give you a lot of insight in terms of, okay, maybe I can solve some of the challenges that my customers are facing here. For example, if I go to computer vision and if I click on draw it out, now there are multiple images are there. I can just select one of the image and it will tell me the information about that image. For example, if I select this image, what type of image, what kind of uh, what this image has. Like it has building, it has vehicle, it has street, it has uh, car, and also each service will come with the confidence score because machine learning is all about prediction, and you want to make sure the service that you're using it's quite confident enough in terms of making the predictions here. The next thing is the services are very, very powerful. If I go to the next step, I can now read the information that is there in the image. For example, if I select this image and you can see this image has a street name and this service can also read that. If something is in written in handwriting, we can also read that using the services. And this service can also help you in terms of recognizing some of the celebrities and landmark as well. I think this is very popular. Many people recognize this. This is the Statue of Liberty picture. So this is one of the demos for computer vision. You can see the similar demos for the text analytics as well. For example, here the first one is sentiment and key phrases. So if I click on analyze here, it is giving me the information about the sentiment. But in our case, in the context of content classification, what we are looking for is the key phrase. So for example, imagine a scenario where you have a big 100-page document, right? It's a Word document. And most of the time you'll see that the documents are not titled properly. Or they will not have any tags at all. Someone may just create doc one or doc 2, doc 3, but inside that there will be like very, very important information available there. So you can use this service to extract the key phrases, and then depending on the key phrases, then you can decide, you can use your own rules there. You can decide, okay, this document has this many key phrases. Maybe this document is for finance department, and I should add some additional tags that the finance department may need. Maybe it's an invoice or it may be a contract. So those kind of things you can do with the key phrases. Same thing, similar kind of things you can do with entity extraction, and there are some other things that comes here. Now, if you like what you saw, the next thing that you need to do is now you need to start using or start you need to start playing this service by yourself, because this demo we cannot play much, right? Only thing we can do here is if I go back, then I can maybe provide my own text, but that doesn't give me the real kind of experience in terms of if I'm a developer, how exactly I need to use this service. So to do those kind of things, first thing you need to do is you need to go to Azure and go to portal.azure.com. And then you start, first thing you do is you start your service there. And when it comes to creating the service using congruent services, you have multiple options. So you can create individual service. For example, I can create a text analytics, I can create computer vision, or I can combine two or more services and use this one. So if I go with cognitive services, and if you read the description, it will give you access to the vision, language, search, speech services using a single API. That means you will have a single endpoint and a single subscription key, and using that, then you can make the calls to the respective services here. And it's very easy to create this. Just click on create, and then you have to provide the appropriate information here. For example, the resource group. And this is if this is the first time you're saying Azure, don't worry. This is like a standard interface you'll get. If for some reason your organization doesn't allow you to access Azure, what you can do is you can make a request to your IT department saying, okay, please create this service for me with this region, with this pricing tier. And after the service is created, just give me the endpoint URL and and the subscription key, and that's it. Once you have that, then you can start consuming these services in your application. For example, one of the most important thing that you have to keep in mind while creating the service is what region you are selecting, because some of the services will give you some different results depending on what region you have selected. For example, if you are going with computer vision and you would like to use that service for, let's say, to find out whether a particular image, like let's say a profile photo that someone has uploaded is work appropriate or not, then you may get different results based on which region you are using the service. For example, certain attire or certain photos may be appropriate in US or Europe, but those photos or attire may not be appropriate, let's say, in Middle Eastern countries or in South Asia. So you have to keep in mind that particular piece. So here I'm located in the United States of America, so I'm going with East US. Then give it your name, global AI developer, and then select the pricing tier. Some of the services come with free tier, which is F0. If that is the case, please definitely go ahead with F0 because that way you will not get charged for using the service. But in this case, I'm going with standard S0, and you just have to check the box and then accept all the licensing agreements from Microsoft saying, okay, you will be using all these AI services responsibly, and you will not be, using the service to create application that may not be that may be evil application. And then if everything is correct, then just click create here. Now I'm not going to go ahead and create a service because I have already done that. But once you click on that, this is the page that you will be getting redirect to, where you will be seeing information about location, the endpoint. But for us, the most important thing is just go to keys and endpoint, copy the endpoint URL, copy the key, and boom. Now you can start using the services and infuse AI in your application. So as far as content classification is concerned, there will be two most important services that we'll be using. One is the text analytics, and second is the computer vision. So let's talk about computer vision first. So this service, as I show you in the AI demos, give you a lot of information. It can we can tag visual features, we can detect object, we can detect brand, we can also categorize an image. But one of the most important thing that you will notice when it comes to content classification, what if you have a scanned contract? Okay, and in that contract, there is information about different contracts and different companies. Using this computer vision API, you can extract the text from the images, and then once you have the text, then you can decide you can then pass that text to the text analytics API and find out what kind of entities are there or key phrases are there. And depending on that, then you can tag that particular image or scan document appropriately. And if you are a developer, then this is going to be your endpoint URL for different ways, various calls that you'll be using. For example, your endpoint URL will start with the URL of your service. In this case, it is going to be this one, whatever the URL you selected, .cognitiveservices.azure.com. Again, you can create your custom URL here as well. You don't have to go with the cognitiveservices.azure.com all the time. There are ways where you can have your own, you can use your own domain name. Of course, you have to use some additional work in the Azure for that. And then you just have to add slash vision, whatever the correct version of the API available. And then if you would like to do OCR, then slash OCR. If you would like to do, let's say, analyze, then slash analyze. Uh, then when it comes to the text analytics API, again, we can use text analytics API for a lot of things, but one of the key things that is very important for the content classification is the language. Like you can find out in what language that document is written, and you can also do the key phrase interaction. Like these two things comes really handy when it comes to the content classification. And just like our computer vision API, if you are a developer and if you would like to make calls, then these are the ways where you can make the calls depending on what operation you would like to do. For example, if I detect the language, then my call will be the URL of my service slash text slash analytics, whatever the current version is, and then slash languages or key phrases. So with that, I would like to pause and see if there are any questions or comments before I start talking about the application design. All right. Looks like there are a few comments, but no questions, so I'll be going ahead. So when it comes to the application design, so this was a very high level design. Again, I'm giving you like the ORI from very top here. The actual implementation was quite complicated, but this may give you a clue in terms of how you can approach this kind of scenarios where the high level overview of the automation we built is for the tagging is we first went with like, let's say there are some file shares. So first we did is one by one, we went through the specific folders, and first thing we check is what type of file it is, whether it's a Word document or it's a text. If it's a Word or text, then we use the text analytics API, and then using various calls there, we tag the files. In case of migration, depending on what kind of tool you're doing, if you don't like, if there is no way to tag your document, what you can do is you can generate corresponding Excel files or corresponding records in, let's say, in any of your favorite data stores, such as SQL or any of your preferred data store, and store the tags appropriately for a corresponding file. And then you can use that information later for the migration. For example, in ShareGate, you can provide during the content migration, you can provide the Excel file with the metadata that you would like to add to at the destination. Or you can also provide the mapping as well. If the file is here in the source and should be the destination, you can all automate that using the PowerShell. And there you need to use the PowerShell commandlets for the migration tool you're using. Along with that, whatever your destination is destination is there. For example, if you're migrating to SharePoint Online or OneDrive, then there you have to use some of the PNP commandlets. If you're migrating to the Azure Blob Storage, then there you need to use a commandlets available for Azure there. And when it comes to once we identify the file type, and if the file is, let's say, a scan PDF or image, then we use the computer vision API. And once we have the information about the tags, then we just use that tags when it comes to migrating the content or moving the content. And again, you can go use any of your preferred migration tool. I just giving you the example of ShareGate, but there are some other good migration tool available from other ISVs as well, so, such as AvePoint, Quest, and though all those tools have a similar functionality where you can provide your metadata, and then they will use that metadata for the content migration. So here I would like to pause and see if any questions or comments are there. Okay, I take that as a no. So let me quickly show you a very basic version of the demo I built. And again, this demo I built, this is using .NET code. So if you are not familiar with .NET, I apologize for that. So the basic implementation is very simple. So I have a couple of files on my machine. Let me open those files for you. And the entire source code for this sample is available on GitHub. So if you go to my GitHub profile, you will see the sample, the source code here. But what we are doing is we are just going through some content in a text doc in a Word document. So this is the first document. Everything is written in English, and then there is a second Word document. Everything is written in Spanish here, because if you're working for a multinational organization, you may see that some documents are stored in English, some may be in different local language there. And I'll be quickly going through this particular calls here. But what we are doing essentially is we are reading the content of these files. And once we extract the content, then we are sending that content to various text analytics API. Like first all we're doing is we're getting the key phrases, then we are getting the language, and initially we're also getting the sentiment score. But in our case, the sentiment score is not that helpful, because we are looking at the sample from the content tagging point of view. So I'm just going to start here and run through the demo real quick. Okay, and now I will show you the output here, and let me know if the output is not that well displayed. So let me increase its font size, maybe 28. Okay, so right now for this use case, we are not looking at sentiment score. What we are looking for is the key phrases and the language. So if you look at the key phrases here, the first one, the key phrases came as my cognitive services, AI, and Microsoft. And In the second one, the key phrases came as something in Spanish, like the similar version of that. Now, once you have the key phrases, then you can use your own algorithms here, or own rules here, saying, okay, if these are the key phrases in this document, then this document maybe belong to, let's say, IT department, or maybe R&D department, something like that. And this language information, you can also use that. For example, the first document, the language came as English, and the confidence score was quite high, like 0.85. That means the service was quite confident in terms of what language the document was written. Same thing with the second document, the confidence score was quite high. That okay, the document was written in Spanish here. So using the combination of key phrases and language, then you can use your own rules internally to tag the documents accordingly. So this was just a small sample of what we did here. And again, if you would like to play with this sample, the entire source code is available on my GitHub profile. The next thing is, what if you are using Microsoft computer vision on text analytics, but the results you are getting are not working in your use case because you're looking for a very specific scenario over there. So in that case, you can use Azure Machine Learning. Using Azure Machine Learning, you can create your own custom model and deploy that as a web service. That's the key thing. Like once you deploy your model as a web service, then it's just like cognitive services. You can then call that model as a web service from your custom code, and then you can use that for the content classification. If you would like to see a really good demo of combining, like how you can build a really powerful application combining all this Azure cognitive services, there is a one demo that I will definitely recommend you to explore. It's an open source. So just Google or Bing for Microsoft JFK demo. And this is the link that we're looking for. So here what Microsoft has done is they have so all the uh, archive files for related to the JFK assassination were released for the public. And what they did is they uh, store those files in the blob storage, and then they use cognitive services, combination of cognitive services to create an application. So this is the application I'm talking about. The sample of website is available. The entire source code is available on GitHub. So if you would like to deploy this application in your own tenant, Azure tenant, you can do that. But here, if I search for Oswald, Oswald is the last name of the person who assassinated JFK. So if I click search, and if his name is located in any document, whether that document is, let's say, a text document, Word, or a handwritten document, or a scanned document, the cognitive services are able to search for that. For example, here it is the document is typewritten, but it is a scanned document. Here everything was handwritten. Still, the service was able to recognize. And if you scroll down, this one, his name is located on the name tag, but still it was able to find that out. There are like this service are very popular. Like this one, this document is a combination of a typewritten and also there is some handwritten notes are there. Still, the service are able to extract those information. Again, this is a really good sample. I highly recommend you. If this is the first time you're playing with cognitive services or AI services, definitely try to deploy this. Again, it will require some Azure credits, and that the solution itself is not cheap in terms of the Azure number of Azure credits you need, but it's a good way to see how we can combine various Azure cognitive services and create a really meaningful application over there. So now, if you would like to get your hands dirty with all those kind of things, and you would like to create your own personal playground for this, because sometimes you may be limited to what kind of access you get from your company over there. There's a and the case study I shared you there, you will need to use combination of the products or services, and one of the product that is Microsoft 365 there, especially if you would like to store your documents in SharePoint online or in OneDrive. So there is a good program available from Microsoft called Microsoft 365 Developer Program. So there you just have to go to this link, sign up for that program, and then with that you can get your personal Microsoft 365 developer tenant for free. And recently they changed some details around the program, but previously, I think till last month, once you create this tenant, you could use that tenant for many years. I think something may have changed because I read somewhere, I'm not sure about it. So definitely go to this particular link, but and start using it, especially if you don't have admin access in your tenant and you would like to play with some admin services, or let's say your organization has disabled some of the Power Platform products, you can also use this program to get those. Of course, you can sign up for the trial, but when you sign up for the trial, you need to provide your credit card. Now, to play with cognitive services, you will need to have Azure subscription, and there are various ways where you can get personal Azure subscription. My personal favorite is if you have access to MSDN, go to MSDN portal, and if your MSDN subscription gives you access to Azure, definitely activate the credits because when you use the credits from this program, you don't have to use your credit card. You don't have to worry about what if in a month I use more than $150 credit or whatever credit you're getting. What happens is your subscription will be disabled for the remaining time of the month. But later on, once the next new month start, you will get the same credit and you can start using that. Because I have personally done that a lot where I was playing with some service which was a little bit expensive. I forgot to turn it off, and in just 2 days or 3 days that service consumed all my entire $150 credit. Then what happened is that particular subscription, everything will be disabled unless I convert that to a paid subscription, and I just had to wait till that month ends, and the next month then everything will be working as normal with whatever fixed amount of credit you are getting. You can always sign up for trial. Depending on your country, you will get some free credits, but when it comes to trial, you have to use your own credit card. There is another program available from Microsoft called Azure for Student. We don't need a credit card. You just have to go to this link and see if you have any educational account, like for example, a .edu account. Then you may be able to your school may be participating in this program, and you may be able to get some free credits from Microsoft. So hopefully the content we covered today give you some kind of ideas how we can use this AI services and roll out some enterprise application. And these are my contact details. If you have any follow-up question, please feel free to email me, or I'm also available on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use Twitter that much. So the preferred communication mechanism is email and LinkedIn.